Get ready to laugh out loud? Here are the 5 best jokes of the day that will have you cracking up in no time. So my wife decided to join this group therapy session, because apparently that's what all the cool moms are doing now. Meanwhile, I'm at home wondering if I should be the one in therapy for putting up with all her self-improvement talk. Anyway, she comes home from her session all excited and says, "You won't believe what the therapist said about the other moms." And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. So she tells me there were 3 moms in the group. The therapist looks at the first mom and says, "You have an obsession with food." And she goes, "What? No way." And he says, "Well, you named your kid Candy." Then he turns to the second mom and says, "You're obsessed with money." She's shocked, like, "Me? No." And he goes, "Yeah, you named your kid Penny." Now I'm waiting for them to get to my wife. And before the therapist can even say a word, my wife stands up, grabs our son and whispered, "Come on, Dick, we're out of here." You ever have that moment where you think you've outsmarted your wife, but then you realize she's 10 steps ahead? Yeah, that was me last week. So, I'm at work, and I call my wife, Emily. I'm like, "Hey babe, big news. My boss just invited me on this important fishing trip to Lake Tahoe. I'll be gone for a week, bonding with the boss, and you know what that means. A shot at that promotion I've been talking about. Can you pack my stuff?" Now I start listing the usual: clothes, toiletries, fishing gear, but then I slip in, "Oh, and don't forget to pack my new pajamas." She's like, "Pajamas? For a fishing trip? Really?" And without missing a beat, I go, "Yeah, babe, it gets cold at night by the lake. Plus, we might be in a cabin or something. Gotta stay comfortable. In case we're up late talking business and all." Real smooth, right? Emily hesitates for a second. I can tell she's suspicious. But then she goes, "All right, I'll pack everything." A week goes by. I come home all cool and casual. Emily greets me at the door like, "So, how was the fishing? Did you catch anything?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, babe, I caught plenty. Trout, bass, business connections." Trying to play it cool. But then I remember. I'm like, "Oh, by the way, why didn't you pack my pajamas like I asked?" And Emily just smiles. That kind of smile that makes your soul leave your body. She says, "Oh, I did pack your pajamas. They're in your tackle box." Now, I didn't touch that tackle box once the whole week. I wasn't fishing for bass. I was fishing for trouble. Moral of the story, fellas? If you're gonna lie, at least check the damn tackle box. So the other morning, my wife Sarah comes into the kitchen with this mountain of clothes from her closet. She's like, "Babe, I'm donating all these. There are people out there who really need them." I'm sitting there, halfway through my cereal, scrolling through my phone, just trying to stay out of trouble, Without even looking up, I casually say, "Why don't you just throw them in the trash?" Now this is where I should have stopped. But no, she gives me that look. You know the look. Like I just insulted her favorite Netflix show. She goes, "Mark, people are starving. They don't have clothes. They'd love to wear my old stuff." And here's where my mouth gets ahead of my brain. I put down my spoon, look up and say, "Sarah, babe, if someone can fit into your clothes, trust me, they're definitely not starving." Now, I thought it was over. I thought I made a clean getaway. Until I see her eyes narrow. She's processing it. You can see the gears turning in her head. And she just goes, "Wait a minute, are you saying I'm..." And then it clicks. "Did you just call me fat?" That's when my survival instincts kick in and I'm like, No, babe. I meant, you're well-fed, like healthy, in a good way." But it's too late. The damage is done. And now maybe I'll sleep on the couch for a week. So there's this priest and a nun, right? They're on a road trip together, probably headed to some holy convention or something, and of course their car breaks down in the middle of nowhere. Like, because why wouldn't it? They find a motel. Classic scenario. But surprise, surprise, there's only one room left. And it's like, cue awkwardness. The priest, trying to be all chivalrous, is like, "Sister, you take the bed. I'll sleep on the floor. God's watching. We're good." Now, at this point, the nun's probably thinking, "Okay, sure, holy and all that, but this priest is actually kinda hot. I mean, I've seen hotter, but..." So, halfway through the night, she's lying there, tossing and turning, when she gets an idea. She calls out, "Father, it's cold. Can you help me? I'm sure God will understand." And this priest, being all righteous, gets up, grabs a blanket, and just tosses it to her. Like he's at some hotel concierge. "Here you go, ma'am. Your complimentary blanket." And then, back to the floor. But this nun, she's persistent. 5 minutes later, "Father, still cold. Can you help me out? I'm sure God will understand." Now the priest, trying to stay holy and avoid a scandal, gets up again. Another blanket. At this point, I'm thinking this priest packed more blankets than Bibles. But then, the nun throws it all out the window, right? She sits up and goes full diva mode. She's like, "You know what? Forget the blankets, Father. How about, just for tonight, you treat me like I'm your wife?" Now, the priest stops dead in his tracks. You can see his mind working like, "Wait, wife? What in the Holy Spirit?" He thinks for a second and goes, "You know what? Fine. I'll treat you like my wife." The nun's excited, probably imagining some romantic holy night or something. And then the priest hits her with, "All right, get your own damn blanket. I'm going to fucking sleep." So my uncle's got this huge farm down in Louisiana, big old piece of land. You know, typical Southern guy, loves his peace and quiet. And in the back of his farm, he's got this pond. He's fixed it up real nice over the years. Picnic tables, apple trees, peach trees. It's like his own personal getaway spot. Now, one Sunday afternoon, he decides to take a stroll down to the pond. It's a nice day. He figures he'll pick some fruit, maybe just relax. So, he grabs a 2-gallon bucket and heads out there. As he's getting closer, though, he hears a bunch of giggling and splashing. And my uncle's like, "What in the world is going on at my pond?" So, he sneaks up a little closer and turns out it's a group of college girls, full-on skinny dipping in the middle of the day. Now my uncle's old, but he's still got his wits about him. He's standing there, trying to process the situation, and the girls suddenly spot him. They freak out. They start swimming to the far side of the pond, yelling, "We're not getting out until you leave, you old creep." My uncle, calm as ever, just stands there with his bucket, doesn't even flinch, and says, "Look, ladies, I'm not here to watch you swim naked or make you leave. Relax." One of the girls, probably feeling extra sassy, shouts, "Yeah, well, we're not coming out until you're gone." Now this is where my uncle, the Southern genius he is, gets a sly grin, raises his bucket and says, "All right, no rush. I just came down here to feed the alligators." Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to make your day even better.